Greetings, welcome for the session on Internet of Things. In this session, we will be talking about what is Internet of Things, that is IoT, what are the advantages of using it, what are the enabling technologies that make IoT possible, and where IoT is applied, that is the applications. The contents will be the answering W's for what is IoT, why IoT, how IoT, and where IoT is used. I would like to acknowledge that the presentation is made focused for non-profit institutions, mainly for educational purpose. The few content is taken from internet and other public domain systems. Let's start with the definition of Internet of Things. As the name says, Internet of Things is basically the things connected to the internet. So as per Wikipedia definition, the Internet of Things, also called as Internet of Objects, refers to wireless network between objects. Usually the network will be wireless and self-configuring, such as household appliances. This is basically the definition of Internet of Things from the Wikipedia. But it doesn't give the detailed aspects associated with Internet of Things. So the author Baga and Madishetty has given more detailed definition of Internet of Things. They said that a dynamic global network infrastructure with self-configuring capabilities based on standard and interoperable communication protocols, where physical and virtual things have identities, physical attributes and virtual personalities, and use intelligent interfaces and are seamlessly integrated into information network, often communicate data associated with users and the environments. As you see that in this definition, there are many keywords that describes properties or characteristics of Internet of Things. As you can see that there is some of the keywords or characteristic like dynamic. Now what is dynamic? As the name says, the dynamic word itself says that it should able to adapt itself based on the environment. It should be self-changing. Human intervention should be as minimum as possible. When there is a change in the environment respect to things, it should able to adapt itself. Here we are talking about things. It can be a pen, it can be specs, it can be a wristwatch, it can be your cupboard, it can be your furniture. Anything that we are using, if we are connecting onto the internet and make them to talk, then we can say that it is part of IoT. But in order to make it complete in respect of definition of IoT, we have to understand these keywords. The word dynamic and self-adapting says that the thing should interact with the environment and adapt based on the environment, based on the context, and it should respond to the situation, respond to the environment. There is self-configuring is another keyword. The self-configuring says that it should not require human intervention for configuration purpose. Now let's say, for example, if we are using mobile to connect to the internet, we need to manually enter configuration settings, and if we enter manually configuration settings, then human intervention is there. Now when things are connected to the internet, we expect that everything should be done by the things themselves. Humans should not intervene for configuration, or other we will say humans should not be disturbed for configuration. The next keyword is interconnectivity, dynamic discovery. We expect that when things is connected to internet, there may be the scenario that different technologies are used. Let's say there is a cupboard and there is a fridge. There is a chair. Now these things, we expect that they should connect with each other, and they should, and since these things are normally connected by means of a wireless communication, so they should be able to discover dynamically. That means when some new thing come in the vicinity of existing network, it should be able to dynamically discover new things and able to connect new thing in the original network. So the dynamic discovery and interconnectivity is integral and ingredient of IoT. There is a interoperable communication protocol. We know that communication protocol basically decides the rules that has to be followed when you perform the communication. Now when you have a multiple technologies that implement as an integration of IoT, we know that when you have one object, one thing connected with Bluetooth and another connected with Wi-Fi, you cannot communicate. So here we say that if your one thing is basically Bluetooth operated and another is basically, let's say, Wi-Fi operated, the communication between the two should be done by means of a common protocols that is interoperable. Okay, so there are protocols designed like MQTT, COAP, and so on, exclusively for Internet of Things. The next keyword is heterogeneity. Heterogeneity says that we know that human beings is surrounded by different things like bag, mouse, laptop, table, chair, cupboards, fridge, washing machine. Now all different things has different sizes, different attributes, and there are different technologies used to connect them to the internet. Okay, so we say that these objects are not homogeneous, that is, they are not same in all aspects. They are different, and we call it as a heterogeneous. And we expect that Internet of Things should be able to connect all these heterogeneous objects. Now next keyword is physical and virtual things have unique identities. Yes, it should have a unique identity, otherwise it is difficult to differentiate over the internet. Has some physical attributes, virtual personalities, and has intelligent interfaces so as to connect it. It is basically a complex system with dynamically changing objects and has scalability for size considerations. There is a time considerations like billion of parallel and simultaneous events are happening simultaneously. The architecture has a hybrid architecture which supports many other things. And finally, it is integrated into information network.